And welcome to Spiff Force Live. No, now you play intro music. I do not understand technology, evidently. So, tonight, we have a special little thing going on tonight because, unfortunately, our trusty co-pilot, Joan Up, has had the globalist powers that be decide to shut her power down all night long. So, as she is listening, hopefully on her phone, underneath her covers with a flashlight on, we will be doing this because the show must go on. And so, you don't think that I could pilot this ship all by myself. So tonight, we have another great co-pilot, and that would be Anon.
Good evening, folks. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened and your tray tables in the upright position. And in the case of emergencies, the truth can be used as a flotation device. How you doing, Spiff?
Hey, man, I'm doing okay. It's one of those days where you kind of feel like everything is being thrown at you to get you off track, but, you know, you have to do what you have to do. So,
Amen, Brian.
How about yourself? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm blessed, refreshed, and luckily I'm dressed this time, so.
You're not tubing?
Can't complain. Not tubing today. No CNN yanking.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how somebody like Jeffrey Toobin can possibly ever go live ever again. Like, he needs to just wrap it up and call it quits, because I think as far as I know, he's still a CNN contributor.
Yeah, I bet he contributes a specimen all the time.
Yeah, never get a loaner from Jeffrey Toobin, that's for sure. I'm gonna see if I can boost your own volume because it sounds a little low. I cannot.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I might be able to make it wiggity whack.
Can you make it wiggity whack?
How's this? Is this any better?
A little bit better. Can you get a little bit?
Mic check.
Still a little low.
This is all I got.
Okay. Let me see what I can do with some OBS magic of mine.
You should show your pretty little face too while we're at it.
Oh, your pretty little face is being shown all over the place.
No, I'm talking about yours.
Oh, mine? Unfortunately, all these people, they have to deal with my face quite a bit. All right, let's see if I just boost up to like 10. Okay. Say something.
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Can the folks in the back hear me?
I hope the people in the back can hear you, because it's going to be really annoying when you're trying to interrupt me. And I'm just talking.
I'm really good at it though.
You are. You actually, you know, in the pre-show when we were getting ready, you showed me that you had some really good sign language going on, because for about 5 minutes on Zoom, I was talking and you were like, and I finally understood what you were talking about.
Yeah. Plus, I was telling you that you were number one.
Yes, number one, right here.
We call that the finger of unity.
Well, these guys haven't come around to hear us joshing around. They've come for the news. So we're going back. We're not doing a movie night tonight. For those that caught last week. No, we're going back to the news a little bit. So
wait, so I watched Debbie Does Dallas for nothing?
No, I had you watch that because it is a pillar of society. So, without further ado, let's go through some headlines. Why don't we do We'll alternate, okay? Oh, you can't see the headlines. I'm just going to rattle them off, okay? So, China is removing Arab-style features like domes and minarets from thousands of mosques across the country to, quote, make them appear more Chinese. That's kind of like what, you know, the opposite of what Trump did with one of his EOs, which was, you know, we want all federal buildings to actually have that classical Roman style. And then Biden on his first day or two was like, nope, this is the worst EO ever. I want our places to be absolutely hideous. So,
yeah, the thing I find most interesting about the Chinese redecoration movement, I guess you could call it, is you know, we've all known in the past what they've been doing to the Uyghurs, which is a Muslim sect in China, and you know they are very anti-Muslim over their bottom line. I mean, they're committing genocide, and now they're stripping down their architecture. And, you know, the minarets, especially, is how the mosques do the call to prayer. It's like a big tower where they have a horn where they can sing through to, you know, alert everybody that it's prayer time. So that is, you know, that's an affront on Muslims across the entire country. So, you know, just a little food for thought there.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think anything that the Chinese, or at least the China government is doing, is trying to say there is no God but us. Right. You know, we don't have any. You guys don't need a higher power. We are the higher power. So
kind of reflective of what the left is doing here by stripping every religious symbol, 10 Commandments, and everything out of all of our buildings. You know, and even so far as with this COVID crap, them cutting out singing and chanting and praying and going to church. You know, this is an attack on religious entities worldwide, really. But I mean, we're owned by China, so I guess we should probably see it for what it is.
I saw a I have to give a hat tip to my friend Great Awake Coach, because I don't know where this photograph came from. It was probably from like Australia. But it was because it was in English, but it was in the middle. It was in an elevator, and it said max occupancy 1 person, and then below it said, please no talking and please social distance.
Well, that one person might have multiple personalities.
I was like, how can you social distance from yourself? Multiple personalities. There you go. They're ahead of the curve on that.
The funny part would be somebody would open, like the elevator doors would open, and somebody would be like, "Get back! I said, get away from me!"
Just like cower in the corner, and like nobody could get him out because he was like, "No, I'm trying to social distance here."
All right, somebody really caring on themselves.
All right, next in the headlines, Thai police, and that's Thailand police, bust 2 major international human trafficking rings, at least 13 arrested and 20 victims rescued. And that's all I got for that. So, you know, good. That's never bad news.
Oh, for sure. And over in Thailand, I mean, it's rampant. A lot of folks, they do what they call like sex tourism, because the American dollar is like 43 to 1 over there. So every $1 you spend, American dollar you have is like 43 Thai baht, which is the name of their money. And so you can get everything over there just cheap as dirt. You can go with $1,000 and live for a month like a king. And they go there for the sex tourism, you know, the sick depravity that they go through. And you know, a lot of people get busted. And the really crazy part is it's a lot of folks on like humanitarian missions and whatever. They go over there saying they're there to help, but really they're there to just do their sick pleasure crap. So good on Thailand. Glad to see somebody's doing something.
That is great. That is good. I would have never expected, of all places, Thailand to have that kind of headline. By the way, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable in currency exchange. How much is the China yuan going for against the dollar today? You know?
I actually don't know. The Yuan Renminbi, they have the BRICS bank that they're using. They're trying to actually push the American dollar out and make Chinese, the Yuan Renminbi, the new reserve currency. But I don't know what the actual exchange rate is, especially since within the last couple of years they've like devalued it, and really it's been like an economic war between the U.S. and China. But it's got Brazil, Russia, India, BRICS, BRIC. That's what they're trying to do, is they want to push us away from the international reserve dollar. So, which goes to the whole petrodollar thing. If you want to buy oil, you have to do it in American dollars. And I think Trump did something about that, but I'm not too sure. So I don't want to start speaking falsely.
We're about to start speaking out of turn the later we get into the show, because we love truth, right? So I only asked that because in just a little bit I have another headline that is I just put in there as a zinger, and I found it kind of funny, but hold on, no, this is okay. Third headline.
Somebody said they can only hear one of us.
Which one?
I don't know.
Probably me. See, okay, you are not muted on Zoom. You are here. Start talking for a little bit.
Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. So I'm going to use this as a chance to plug my Sing for Freedom campaign. Folks, I want to see everybody get out there and record a video of them singing the national anthem. Post it and use the hashtag of Sing, the number 4, freedom. Sing for freedom. And let's blow up the internet with some love and unity and revive patriotism. And the reason I'm doing this is because every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern, the January 6 inmates stuck in the D.C. gulags, indefinite detention without trial, et cetera, they still sing the national anthem every night at 9. So show some love and unity, stand in solidarity with those that were willing to stand up for freedom and sing for freedom. Because this is a great time in our lives when the national anthem of our country is a form of protest.
Absolutely. I'm still working on you, though.
I could just do a mime show, I'm stuck in a box.
Sorry, guys. If anybody's out there that's listening that is actually an expert with streaming technology, you have my permission to come and tell me what's what, because for some reason I can not only can I barely hear Anon, but it looks like none of you guys can hear Anon. And
is it only muted on DLive, or is it muted on Telegram? Or maybe it's a platform thing.
No, it's definitely a user issue. Oh, we now both have echo. Great. Well, wait, I thought one of us, you couldn't hear one of us. All right. Is the echo gone? Waiting. Hopefully it's gone.
I don't know.
Okay. I think we're good. I think we're good. I mean, I don't know really what else to how else to do this, but we're just going to keep on going. Okay, guys?
That's it. Just start taking some shots, and now the echo goes away. Then you'll just see 2 of me instead of hearing 3 of me.
Your volume is definitely up. It's getting a little crazy, but I can hear you better. So, all right, let's go to the third headline. We're only on headline 3. A growing chorus of mostly Republican lawmakers are calling for Dr. Anthony Fauci to be charged with lying to Congress following statements that he made during sworn testimony regarding the funding of the risky gain of function research in China. I want to say really quickly, when people say mostly Republican lawmakers, if this was on the Democrat side, they would say bipartisan.
Yeah, I think maybe they're just claiming that the fact that the people saying something are just mostly Republican. They're not completely Republican people.
Yeah, you know, they're mostly for the Constitution.
Right.
So interestingly, though, just today, the NIH has now removed all language from their website that implies gain of function. Nothing to see here, boys. Because,
yeah. Put the blinders on.
Well, the internet is certainly not forever. Wayback Machine. So, let's see. I think that Rick Grinnell piped in saying, we're on the outside looking at this and thinking, are we watching a third world crumble? This is really scary in the United States to not have a DOJ and an attorney general to jump on this immediately and prosecute the guy. Yeah, I've since pretty much January 20th, I haven't really felt like we were going to get any of that. But, you know, Rick Grinnell can say his words. It's cool.
Right. For those that don't know, Rick Grinnell used to be the director of national intelligence. Like, he was the top intelligence guy in our country. So, you know, he knows what we all don't know. He has the inside scoop. So, you know, when he says something like this, then it should speak volumes to folks, because this is, I mean, it's a travesty, absolutely, that they're trying to just change the phraseology, change the words, and then people will just be like, oh, okay, well, this is what this means now. Just like they changed the definition for vaccination, they changed the definition for a vaccinated or unvaccinated person in the hospitals. You know, you're unvaccinated if you haven't had your second, third, or fourth booster shot. So if you die and you've only had shot number 1, then you're still considered an unvaccinated death. You know, it's those types of things that they change the definitions for. That's just, or they change the definition for herd immunity. You know, it just keeps going and going because they can't hold up to their own facts, so they have to change the rule book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's pretty much an entire chapter in 1984 just based on this, that you had to keep on changing the language to keep control of power. And that's exactly what they're doing right here.
Walter is turning in his grave. I am human, I tell you.
I am human. So also in the news, Pennsylvania considers bill that would allow residents to sue big tech over censorship. That's all I have. I think we didn't get too much into the weeds on that. Pi, unless you have something to say about this that you might know, we'll move on.
I mean, good for PA. Hopefully, you know, somebody in Pennsylvania will have the money to fight the giant Rio Grande of lawyers that they're going to throw at them the first time somebody tries to do anything and stomp that person into the ground. So I think maybe a giant class action suit might do some good. I think I remember my favorite Anon, number 17, saying something like that. Class action lawsuits have big effects. So let's open up, let's crack a Yingling and enjoy some court TV in PA. See what happens.
Cheers to that. Yingling is, by the way, one of the best beers out there. Best domestic beers.
Amen.
So, officials detained, internet down in apparent Sudan coup. I didn't get much of a chance to read about this, but Sudan is going along the lines of Myanmar and other places that are having coups. So it's just more of the same. It's we're having, you know, kind of a repetitious pattern going on.
See, the real trick is to see what type of power comes in after the coup is over, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it was so Tanzania is a great example. You know, that was the president who had the balls to test a bunch of goats and fruit for the PCR test, and they all came back positive, and then they killed him for it, and made sure that his vice president, who came in after him, was a complete globalist, you know, suck up. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's you have to see what happens after the coup.
Right. And I mean, you look at Saudi Arabia, that was really the first big giant domino to fall. They had a coup, military martial law, and they got rid of the upper royalty and threw them all in prison. And that's how Mohammed bin Salman became the Prince of Saudi Arabia, who was friend to America, willing to bring peace in the Middle East, you know, was not involved in the human trafficking bullcrap that was going on over there and all the corruption, money laundering, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a good coup. Myanmar, you know, that's honestly, in my opinion, still to be seen. It looks okay, but, you know, Tanzania, the guy tried to do something, they killed him, and then they ended up with a cuck in office. And then, you know, like I said, you just got to see what happens. But it's good to see that there is some change, because Sudan has a bad track record of crimes against humanity.
Human violations, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep that on our radar. Let's travel over to New Zealand. If you guys didn't know, New Zealand Prime Minister, I'm not going to even try to say her name right. I think it's Jacinda Ardern. She's been if you guys don't know, she's been all about the one world order, the new world order, since she got into office. And she was asked by a reporter today if she feels if what she's doing with New Zealand was creating two classes of people, one with vaccinated people receiving special privileges over the unvaccinated, and her response was, "That is what it is. Yep." I have a clip for you, but I'm not set up for showing clips tonight, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to take me by my word. Sorry. But what do you think about Jacinda Ardern, Pi?
I think I appreciate her honesty. You know, she's still a worthless piece of crap, dictatorial, socialist agenda type of person. That whole globalism, you know, the one world government, and that's what it really is. The New World Order is a globalist order. So when the people start talking about globalism, then you should already know ahead of time that they are literally trying to destroy nations by removing borders, creating a one religion, creating one form of government, and it's not going to be a democratic one or a republic like the United States. So for her to at least come out, I mean, granted, they're just blatant with it nowadays because they have no fear. They think that they can just do whatever they want. But I appreciate her candor. I do. Like, you're going to destroy everything. She's like, yeah, well, it is what it is.
See, I think I'm kind of getting to this point where I'm seeing, especially since Biden got into office, that, you know, they don't feel like they have to hide anything anymore. They just are like, okay, we're done with trying to, like, rack our couple of brain cells together for, like, you know, cute little lies about why we're doing things. We're just going to be like, yeah, sure. Or in Biden's case, he, like, you know, gets asked a question and he does a 180 and walks out the room. I think that, you know, they think that they've won the day right now.
I mean, he doesn't even hide whenever he wipes his butt.
I wipe my butt.
Sit in my lap and they play with my leg hairs, and they just say whatever they want now. They do whatever they want because they think that they can just, they think that they've won, but they don't realize that they've already lost.
It's, and this might be a conversation for another day, but I agree with that. But at the same time, I'm trying to reconcile the panic in DC, Because they've got to be feeling panic. So why are they acting like this? Why are they like? Are they literally like being force fed? What is it? Sodium nitrate or whatever it is that the truth serum.
Sodium ethanol.
Sodium ethanol.
Sodium ethanol. So, like, here's the thing. They're panicked because there's things going on in the background that are destroying their narrative. And if they can keep a hold of that narrative, then they can win by the court of public opinion. And this right here, to me, shows that the people have the power. Because truth is the first casualty of war. It is our job as truthers, as digital soldiers, as patriots, whatever title you want to put it. But if you're on the right side, one of the biggest missions that we have as a group is to keep truth alive. Because if we can keep their narrative at bay and let people realize that they're full of it, that they're lying to us, that there's something going on, and just to let folks even question their narrative instead of just blindly following it like, masker, the people walking around completely like wearing 7 masks on all the people that you just aren't ever going to wake up, then we have that power, and they know that we have that power. Therefore, they are pushing hard to divest us of that power, push the narrative so that we believe their lies and want to use our power for their agenda. And that's why they try to censor us, silence us, and capture and detain anybody willing to stand up against them, because they recognize the power that we have. Even though sometimes I think that we don't recognize the power that we have. So that helps me sleep at night. To be real honest, Spiff, is they wouldn't try to silence us if our voice was powerless. They wouldn't try to take away our rights if we didn't have the power because of our rights to use against them and get them out of office. That one little line in the Declaration of Independence, it's by the consent of the governed. They were trying to get our country specifically, but other countries as well, but they're trying to get our country specifically to the point where they can govern us without our consent. And the first and foremost, the largest attack on that is the election system, because our vote counts.
Absolutely agree. I would while you were talking, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, there's got to be one guy in the whole planning of all of this that is just patting himself on the back and being like, I actually got people to wear 10 masks and guzzle hand sanitizer underneath all 10 of those. Like, that guy must be.
Can I sidebar something?
Sidebar.
Why is it nowadays that hand sanitizer always smells like tequila? Right?
It does.
Before it was just like rubbing alcohol or whatever, and hand sanitizer gel especially. But now it all smells like tequila. Like, what is up with that?
I'd rather it smell like bourbon personally, but yeah, it does. It's got a bite to it, and every time I slap some of my hands, my hands go numb and I can't type anymore, and all they want to do is go out and have a party. All my fingers do. They start fighting with each other, and
I'm going to end up being the drunk guy in the corner of a room going, it puts the sanitizer on its skin or else it gets the lotion again.
You don't want to be that guy.
I haven't been drinking, officer. I'm sanitary.
I'm sanitary, I swear. All right, we got one more, maybe 2 more headlines. We are still in the headlines. That's awesome. Okay, so at least a few folks fighting for us are still fighting for us on the Hill. Last week, Representative Jim Jordan cornered AG Merrick Garland in a fiery back and forth on what evidence Garland has to label parents who are outraged over the public school system's attempts to poison their own children's minds as domestic terrorists. And I had in the show notes, I say, here's a short clip to show everybody, and I can't. So essentially, Jim Jordan really tricked Merrick Garland in a series of back and forth questioning. And what Jordan was able to prove was that Garland mistreated parents based solely on the word, on what was sent to him in a letter by the National School Board Association. and did not investigate further any potentially politically motivated claims that the National School Board Association may have had. I'm telling you guys, no parent deserves this crap. And so keep your eyes on what Jim Jordan is trying to do, because today I saw on his Twitter feed, which is hard for somebody who was kicked off of Twitter to navigate Twitter these days. But it seems that he was able to actually elicit an apology from the National School Board. And now Jim Jordan is like, okay, you know what the House GOP is going to do? They're going to order the FBI to start looking into why A.G. Garland was doing this in the first place. So, maybe I have little faith for the justice system these days, but maybe justice is coming for all these parents that were called terrorists.
Yeah, well, a socialist system says that parents don't raise children, that the government does. And that's the indoctrination that's being pushed. And, for any parent that lays down to comply with that, you're also complicit. So keep that in mind, folks. And they're going to try to stick needles in their arms without your consent. They don't even have to call and tell you. And many schools across this country are, unfortunately, they're doing what I consider crazy stuff. Your 11-year-old can get an abortion without even being told about the parents. They offer the morning after pill to kids and teenagers, even as low as elementary school. They're forcing mask mandates. They're telling their kids that you're, horrible people if you're white. They're telling kids they're horrible people if they don't wear masks. They're horrible people if they don't get vaccinated. Tell us if your parents haven't been vaccinated. And by the way, they don't let them talk about their Christian faith, but every other faith, they shove it down their throat and have it as a class curriculum. So this is an attack on our next generation. So wake up, folks, for sure. And this is hopefully Jim Jordan can break the ice on that one and maybe bring some awareness to it, because too many parents are asleep. They'd rather just hand their kid a tablet and do some online school and leave them alone so they can continue playing Candy Crush.
I was told by one of our close show friends today that me and her needed to talk about my parenting skills, because she was appalled that I would ever let my 6-year-old play Minecraft. But hey, man, it's a lot cheaper than Legos.
Right, and if you step on Minecraft at 2 a.m.
it ain't gonna hurt.
Here's the thing, a lot of folks get on me about my parenting as well. I let my kids watch pretty much whatever they want, as long as it's not, illicit. My 8-year-old doesn't watch porn, stuff like that, but they'll watch Family Guy, they'll watch The Simpsons, they watch, whatever. The real trick is if you tell your kids they can't do something, they want to do it even more.
Oh, yes, they do.
If you teach them the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, fantasy and reality, and they can make their own decisions, be involved in their life. And this is just my personal opinion, and I don't want to have you lose viewership because I'm an asshole dad. But I'll let my kids watch this, but I watch it with them. And when a touchy subject comes up, I take a moment to explain something and show them what we believe, what the right thing is, Like whenever Family Guy, for example, makes a joke about Christ and they laugh, I'll say, okay, that sounds funny, but how does God think about you laughing at that? And then immediately they're like, can we watch something else? Because they realize that isn't right.
That's awesome.
Food for thought.
That could be a whole show into itself.
Right.
I think a lot of people are. I'm not saying that a lot of parents out there are, double or thinking twice about how they feel they're parenting, but it's good to have that kind of reinforcement, because my wife and I argue all the time about what our kids can watch. Like, I grew up in a household where literally when I was like 3 or 4 years old, my dad was like, I want to go see a movie, and he took me to The Predator. I mean, come on. Did I grow up to become a mass murderer? No. You know, I don't think, but you really hit something very, very hard right there that I never really considered. It's how you as a parent convey the message of what they just saw.
Right, and if you shelter them from it, then they want it more. But if you just teach them the difference between right and wrong, in my opinion, it's a much easier battle to teach them morals instead of trying to shelter them from the immoral. You know, I'll be real honest, and I'm sure parents are going to hate me in the comments, but my youngest, who just turned 9, but ever since they were like 3, 4, 5 years old, all my kids, we watched horror movies. We watched, you know, movies that had cussing or violence. You know, I mean, I draw the line at nudity, and I draw the line at other illicit things. You know, more like LGBTQ, alphabet soup, whatever.
Anything that
type of stuff.
Yeah. Anything that like the left is trying to push today, I refuse to watch. I mean, there's only like 1 or 2 shows I'll allow on Disney Plus, because we tried watching new shows today, because my oldest is now like, I only want to watch like 3 shows. And I'm like, oh, we've got to branch out. So I was trying to find new shows, and one of them was called Gravity Falls, which looks like a cute little cartoon show. And the thing is that I realized within the first 5 minutes is that it's literally trying to get children to be desensitized to Masonic, I guess, mythologies and stuff like that. Like everything in it had like the all-seeing eye in it and stuff. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to affect my 6-year-old, but we're going to go back to watching something else.
Right. So really, just comes down to make sure you're prepared to know what type of topics are going to be put forth.
Right.
So, you know, if you're going to watch a movie and it has, you know, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but whatever subject
John Wick
is in that movie. Right. You know, that's something that you don't want your young ones watching, because you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, yes, she's naked, and those used to feed you. You know, but my point is, like, you need to know what sort of topics are going to come across. So be prepared and be involved. And I don't know. I'm going to shut up now before I, you know, get.
Oh, I'll give you a good tongue lashing after the show. Don't worry.
You can't threaten me with a good time, big guy.
Okay, we got one last headline. We are still in the headlines! Okay, this is awesome, because finally, a local Chinaman proves that the social credit system of the CCP is not worth his money. And I'm just going to have to read this tweet, because, you know, can't show it. But it says, this week in Shanghai, China, a millionaire named Sunwear withdrew his entire savings of 5 million yuan and ordered the bank staff to count every single note. All because they asked him to wear a face mask. He then put the money in suitcases and left. So that's why I was asking if you knew what the exchange rate was with the yuan and China, because I would think that it's drastically smaller than the dollar, and so to call somebody a millionaire in China for having 5 million yuan seems like maybe he had $100,000. I'm not sure.
I mean, it could be $20 for all we know.
It could be. I mean, we're not talking about Venezuela here, but
right, yeah.
Anyway,
because you know socialism works so well, that's why they all wanted to come here. But no, I mean, bottom line, he did something right? It made news. He hit them in their pocket, and I think it's really hilarious that he made them count it.
That's the best part.
If I was in that situation, the whole time they were counting, I would have started saying my ABCs and counting just to mess them up. Like,
yeah, just say random numbers. Be like 9, 14, 7, 64. just to make them have to count again. So we used to be all about like right at the end of the headlines, we would go through all the audit updates, and right now it seems like what we need to be doing more of is looking, because people really kind of need this, I think, is kind of highlighting the pushbacks that are going on in our society. Pushbacks against, of course, the vaccination process, against everything else. Because, shoot, dude, we can't, like, keep doing this if we don't feel like we're winning in some form or fashion. So I'm going to give you a few little pushback updates. Just two. So, today, tens of thousands took to the streets of New York City against the vax mandate. Tens of thousands. And these all weren't just Trump supporters. No, in fact, the anti-vax movement, I guess you could call it, that's what I think New York Post called it. The anti-vax movement was actually going shoulder to shoulder with BLM, of all people. I think the BLM was going about doing this protest against the Brooklyn Nets dude, I can't remember his name, who said he wasn't going to get vaxxed, and then they fired him or whatever they did to him.
Yeah, they benched him.
They benched him. Yeah, for home games.
I did see an article where some of the leaders of BLM went against the Biden administration's vax mandates, saying that it was racist.
Well, we could have had that last year before we actually voted on who was going to be the president, because after all, Biden went on and said, if you ain't black, or if you ain't voting for me, you ain't black. But maybe now, there's never a wrong time to wake up, I guess. But one last thing about the protests is that both placards and the sounds of "Let's Go Brandon" were heard echoing through the hollowed streets of Manhattan, which is pretty awesome.
Right, we'd have like a New Yorker accent. So let's go, Brandon.
Hey, let's go, Brandon.
This fucking guy. Hey.
I'm walking here. So, the other pushback that we have is that Fox News' Lisa Booth has refused the COVID injection on air. She is, quote, doubling down as a middle finger to Biden's tyranny. So good for her.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully she'll go to a real news network someday.
I know. I didn't get to see whether Dan Bongino still has his show on Cumulus or not today, but I heard him on Friday. He was like, look, the podcast is still going to be here. Don't know if Westwood One is going to pick it up or not on Monday, so I don't know about that, but glad he's sticking with his guns. And I don't know if he got vaxxed or not, but he was saying that, look, I'm doing this for my people. I'm doing this for everybody that's employed. Like, some people don't like it. And that's what we have to respect. So even if he did get the jab, I don't know if he did or not, but it's more admirable that he's sticking up for other people and not just ourselves.
Well, the real big thing is a lot of folks need to stand up, right? There are too many of you telling, well, I had to. You don't have to do anything. Any unconstitutional law is null and void. That's written in the Constitution. And, the federal government cannot mandate anything. There's no law saying that you have to have this done. A mandate isn't a law, and that requires legislation. And then it would require more even with your consent, right? Because you cannot have anything injected into you without your consent. That's a violation of the Nuremberg Code, Section 6. So, folks, stand up to your job. If, they aren't going to fire everyone. They're not going to put themselves in bankruptcy. And if a company that is trying to push this mandate realizes that, 70% or 60% or even 40% of their workforce is not going to be pushed around and take the jab, they're going to realize that that would be the destruction of their company, right? Hit them in their pocket. So, more power to folks. I'm not taking it. They can fire me. I will not allow that to be put into my body, period. But that's my personal opinion. Anybody wants to get it, have at it. Good luck. But if you don't want it, don't be pushed into doing it. The companies that are doing these mandates, they're trying to just kowtow to the status quo and follow the rule book, right? OSHA, for example, coming out with Biden was asking OSHA to do the mandate for any company with more than 100 employees. There's 100 different ways around that. Ask for religious accommodations from HR, ask for medical exemptions from your doctors, talk to the company and see if they can split it up into smaller subsidiaries of less than 100 employees apiece, and then they don't have to follow the OSHA regulations. But don't, I'm standing on my soapbox here, Spiff, sorry, but don't just do it because you don't have to. Nobody is telling you that you're going to be incarcerated yet if you're not going to get stuck with a needle. Whatever happened to my body, my choice. Now it's, my body, their choice, and that ain't America.
Yeah.
Be strong enough to stand up for your freedoms.
And I mean, back in the infancy of our republic, and the Supreme Court ruled in Marbury versus Massachusetts, I think, that any law that goes against your constitutional rights essentially is repugnant. Anything that goes against it is repugnant. And the Constitution literally says in the 10th article, all things that aren't previously said are the state's rights. So you can't, the federal government has, I hope everybody that's listening understands that any edict that Biden brings out these days is complete BS. It's complete BS. He can't enforce it.
You're using that big brain energy, man. I love it.
Yeah, they are. So, got a few topics to go through for everybody that is still listening to us. It's going to be exciting. First of all, Pi, what can you tell us about Fauci's roadside freak show? What have you heard about? What new findings have come up about Fauci in the last couple of days?
Well, a lot of it's stuff that we've already known, but it's finally becoming public, is that he is like the Dr. Kevorkian of the freaking medical industry, doing some crazy, weird experiments. And I meant to say Dr. Zhivago, but I don't have that big brain energy. The dogs, right? And he puts their heads in these cages or, where these sand fleas are literally eating them alive. And I heard that the doctors, when they funded these experiments of whatever reason, they cut the vocal cords from the dogs so that the scientists wouldn't be bothered by all the screaming and yelping from the dogs that are in pain.
Yeah, those sounds are just annoying,
Right. Oh, yeah. It's inconvenience. Don't inconvenience the scientists, but, watch a dog get literally its face eaten alive. But really, the big crux is, I think you heard something about the monkeys. I'll let you cover more of that one because I'm sure you know more about that. I just kind of breezed over that part. But
yeah, it's it's always interesting to always hear that we don't mind people killing or like subjugating entire groups of people, such as our children, to doing wrong things, to getting jabs of inoculations that we have no idea what the end consequence is going to be. But you hurt one dog. Now, hey, I'm a very big dog person, so I'm not making light of the horrors that Fauci did. But a lot of people are, and I think especially on the left, like PETA and stuff are they got on Twitter and started trending arrest Fauci because of this news. But he hasn't that isn't the only thing that the NIH has done that Fauci, as pretty much the head, funded. It's been more about like he has done crazy psychological experiments on chimpanzees, like
Right.
and other animals, I would assume. But I think that it really kind of goes to the point that I wanted to make is kind of more that, well, we are, and I didn't really flesh this topic out too much for myself, but we are unfortunately we've been successfully desensitized to certain things where if animals get hurt, it's much graver than the knowledge that hundreds, thousands, millions of people, especially children, are getting tortured and killed.
Right. So if I could, everybody's throwing a fit over these dogs, and I'm a dog person. I love animals. Period. Right. I believe that all life is sacred. I love to eat my burgers, but I give thanks for that meal because I realize that it cost a life for it to be on my plate. However, everybody is up in arms about the dogs. It's horrible. It's disgusting. But if somebody really wants a dark dig into the NIH and studies that were funded, how about look up what the NIH funded to the ICC for orphan children with HIV? They were doing studies on HIV with orphaned kids. They didn't already have HIV. Right. Yeah, so look into that. I don't want to go into it because it's really dark and disgusting. But my biggest quandary in this issue is, like you're saying, people are more upset about animals than we find out that they're doing this stuff to people. Just look at Afghanistan, the botched extraction. There were tens of thousands of Americans left behind in the nation, and it made news. People were upset, but the moment they found out that there were dogs left behind, everybody threw a fit. It became trending. It became the talk of the town. I can't believe he left those dogs there. And I'm standing in a corner going, yeah, but what about the tens of thousands of Americans? Those are humans, people. We should probably care about our own species just a tad bit more than an animal, which it sounds cold and insensitive to say because I know PETA's probably watching this and, they're going to go beat the hand
of all places, I think that Spiff Force Live is free from PETA activists, hopefully. No.
I'm about to get red paint thrown on me. But
right.
It's just my point. Like you're saying, we should focus on the people. The dog is, and the animal tortures and things. Yeah, that's just icing on the cake. But they're doing this stuff to people, babies, children.
Yeah.
That it's ridiculous.
This didn't even like fluster me at all when I heard about like what they were doing with Snoopy. I was just like, do you guys not know what they've been doing for years to the humans, to the human children?
Into a little bit of detail on the chimpanzees. From what I understand about the story that was released in the white papers, they had monkeys that they put acid into a specific part of their brain to give them like a sense of terror, right? And then they would simulate pictures of like spiders and things that chimpanzees are naturally afraid of to elicit a overly exaggerated terror response, right? They would want to see how they reacted. And I saw a tweet from Candace Owens, which I'm banned off of Twitter, so like you said, it's hard to navigate, whatever. But I came across a tweet from Candace Owens where she was shining a light on this subject. And then she pointed out that the chimpanzee brain is 97% similar to the human brain. So that made me think, like, why are they trying to elicit fear in a brain that is similar to humans. And then it realizes, well, if it's Fauci and NIH funded, and now they're out here pushing fear for, the C-19, I mean, it starts to, 2 and 2, you start to equal 4. It makes more sense as to why they would be studying these certain things. Why is there gain of function, which, by the way, is just a key word for bioweapon. But that's, you got to make you wonder, how long have they been contriving this plan of trying to enslave an entire world, an entire globe, really, with fear? Because that's all this COVID crap really is. It's just fear mongering, in my opinion.
I'd like to have a drug where I can completely be immune from fear, that I don't feel fear. Would that be a good thing to have? I don't know.
Not, because we're afraid to touch the stove because we know it's hot.
But that's all experiential. We are afraid of supposedly a virus that we've barely anybody has seen the actual effects of. We've just seen videos from Wuhan of people like falling in the street, and we've been like, oh my God, there's a virus and we're going to get killed. Let's go put on our bubble suits and walk around like complete dipshits. I mean,
right. Scuba Steve to go get a freaking cup of coffee now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still like, I live in a fairly red area, and so every single time I go to the supermarket, I'm always like kind of gauging how many people are masked, how many people aren't, and it's very funny because it really ebbs and flows. And I haven't been able to figure out, like, okay, does this correlate with when people are finally sick of it, that less people are wearing masks, or does it correlate, like, in the early days, anytime that Fauci would come out and be like, yeah, this thing's going to kill us, then the next day I'd go to the supermarket and like nearly everybody would be masked. But today it's weird. It's just like, it's 50-50 most of the time, but like there are days where I'll see the vast majority wearing masks, and I'm like, did I just come at a wrong time, or what's going on? But the fear is real. The fear is real, and it's manufactured fear. So maybe that's what Fauci was trying to do.
Right. Yeah, trying to figure out ways that they can manufacture fear. And one big thing I started telling folks, like when this thing started, and I still say it because I'm pretty much just a broken record of making points, but, if this is a pandemic, then why don't we see ambulances rushing up and down the streets? If the videos of people dropping dead while walking down the street in China, if those were true, then why don't we see that here? We had Ebola in Texas back in 2012. Why didn't they shut down even just Texas or anything? But they didn't.
Yeah, they should have nuked Texas for that.
No, come on now.
Hey man, I'm from Texas. I'm just kidding. Don't mess with Texas.
Right? There'd be some.
But yeah, like why hasn't San Francisco been burned off the side of our planet because of all the homeless people that have died in the streets? Thank goodness for all of the brave Samaritans who every night go out and sweep all of the dead bodies off the streets for the rest of us.
Bring us your dead. Bring us your dead.
Yes. Bring up the dead. Boom. All right, we are running late. However, I really want to talk about one certain person. Alec Badgun.
Don't shoot.
Don't shoot. Alec Badgun. I mean, Alec Baldwin. Our favorite, completely intolerant, level 5 TDS sufferer has gone and shot somebody on his own movie set. I'm sure everybody has heard about this. I'm sure everybody knows the story, but we want to kind of dig a little deeper into it. So For those that don't know, very quickly, on his own movie set that he was producing, directing, and I think starring in, the movie is called Rust, he took what was supposed to be a prop gun and aimed it at a crew member and pulled the trigger, and the prop gun ended up not being a prop gun at all. It ended up killing a crew member, a videographer, and actually injuring the person behind the videographer, the I think assistant director, I'm not sure. However, if you're listening at all to the MSM, you're not going to read that this prop gun wasn't actually a prop gun, because what a prop gun is a gun that is pretty much built to not be able to fire any sort of live ammo. Well, you don't have a prop gun if, you kill somebody with it. So, so he shot this videographer. The videographer's name was Helena Hutchins. She was shot, and what's weird about this is that she has quite a few interesting connections herself. For one, her husband is, or was, I'm not sure which tense to use in this, but her husband is a lawyer at the mega law firm Latham and Watkins. Latham and Watkins happens to be the law firm.
Tell me how they're connected.
I'm going to. Latham and Watkins happens to be the law firm which is defending none other than Michael Sussman of John Durham fame. I don't know, and essentially, if you go down far enough, you realize that they have also defended the Clinton Foundation. However, so honestly, on the weird coincidences scale, I put this at like a 2, because honestly, the husband only became associate of that law firm this year. So I'm like, well, that's a pretty big law firm. I doubt that they were like, there's something going on with this guy and Latham Hutchins or Watkins, blah blah blah. So I don't put a lot into that one. What I do put a lot into is the fact that let me get her name right. Helena Hutchins, the videographer, her next big project after this was going to be a documentary on, can you guess it, Pi?
I would have to say it's probably the pedophile rings in Hollywood.
Ding, ding, ding. Yes, she had big plans to expose the pedophile rings of Hollywood. So,
which puts her in a group of very famous people that have done the same thing and then died mysteriously.
Let's list some of them off. Chris Cornell of Soundgarden. Chester Bennington of Linkin Park.
Right.
And
if my memory serves me correctly, both of them died by hanging.
Yes, they decided to commit suicide within weeks of each other, because right. They were about to try to expose this Hollywood I guess big this I guess there's a pedophile ring in the music sphere, but either or, it's all the same. But yeah, they were going to do that. Paul Walker, if you remember him from the Fast and the Furious. Yeah, he got himself deaded after he was like, I want to expose this sex ring that I'm seeing. So I would not, a lot of people, everywhere you're seeing people being like, Oh no, Alec Baldwin didn't do anything wrong. In fact, there's like a viral tweet going on somewhere where they're like, I can't believe we live in a world where we would be thinking that Alec Baldwin should be incarcerated, yet there are people that think that Kyle Rittenhouse should be free. So there's those people. And then there are also people who are like, yes, he needs to burn. I think we're looking at the wrong thing here, guys. I think that this is one of those staging events, like almost like a satanic sacrifice staging of a death. And
did you see the video that Alec Baldwin put out yelling about the crazy QAnon conspirators? Yes. And they think that he's involved in the Jeffrey Epstein. And you notice that if you've seen the video, and if you haven't, folks, watch it, he starts to choose his words very wisely and then stutters around a couple different subjects. You know, like, well, my name's in the flight log, but I've never seen him before. Why is my name in the flight log? Because crazy QAnon conspiracists think that it's in there, but I've never met him. How do you know, but he was saying, like, you know, that this crazy pedo rings have certain names like Beyonce. Do you really think that Beyonce's involved in? And then he like stops and thinks about what he needs to say, because we all know Beyonce is involved in the elitist satanic cabal bullcrap as well. But he starts to choose his words wisely. And if a person can't speak up front and they have to dance around something mentally before they speak, then that shows point blank they're trying to get around the subject and they have a secondary agenda. So I don't believe anything that comes out that man's mouth, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't really see him as being a good citizen ever. I mean, he spent 4 years doing the worst impersonation of a president I've ever seen on Saturday Night Live. And then it just would be insane. Every single time I'd see like man on the street camera on him, he looked like he was going to like kill somebody with the stuff he would say. So I don't really care about what happens to him. You know, in the least, he needs to be put on trial for at least manslaughter. But I don't think that he was. I honestly, looking at all of these weird coincidences and the evidence, I think that he was set up as a fall guy. Because if you look at it, you know, it's the movie set had what's called an armorer. And this is like a prop master specifically for weapons, or prop weapons, I guess. This armorer, if you look into her, does not look like somebody who should ever be around firearms.
Well, she looks like somebody that would be anti-gun, you know, the typical liberal leftist.
Yeah.
So maybe we should use the proper pronouns of Z, G, Ping.
She's in Ping.
You know, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, man. And, you know, she's the armorer and definitely the stereotypical leftist. So
my first thought in looking at the pictures of her was, this is the classic textbook example of somebody who has gone through satanic ritual abuse as a child. And more than that, probably has some sort of mind control element to it. Like, this girl probably got activated. This armorer probably got activated, didn't know what she was doing, and probably put a loaded weapon on the arms rack at the thing. I'm speaking completely in conjecture here. This is just my own thoughts. I'm not saying this is fact, but like, this girl looks like somebody who was probably activated somehow, and you know, put a loaded weapon on the props rack.
But don't those weapons, or don't the prop guns and any of the show weapons used in movies, don't they have a chain of custody? Like they process they're supposed to follow.
Yeah, they go from the prop master to the to the armorer. The armorer, I later found, is the only person that is allowed to touch them until, say, the actor chosen or the director come up to retrieve it, and that's not what happened. And the whole thing is a mess. There was a TikTok of another veteran prop master who had reviewed all of the everything that had gone on during this shoot, and been like, I can count on more than 10 fingers the list of ethical breaches that happened during this. Like, evidently the assistant director came up to the gun rack, took the gun without the armorer even being there, and just took it over to Alec Baldwin, put it in his hand, and said, "Okay, this is a cold gun." And there was a lot of questions about why Alec Baldwin was aiming at a crew member and not, like, say, one of the cast. And it turned out that what he was doing at the time is what the industry calls is a
crossfire.
Crossfire, thank you. It's a crossfire, which is to simulate it's the actor pointing right at the camera and going like that to simulate like they're firing at you. So he aimed at the camera. Who was behind the camera? None other than the videographer. I can never remember her name. Something Hutchins. Helena. Helena Hutchins was behind that camera, and right behind her happened to be the assistant director that got shot. So, all in all, you know, this looks like a textbook kind of staging of, you know, a death, because this Helena girl was getting a little too close to the truth. And I have a feeling that not many people these days really like Alec Baldwin, at least in his community. He seems like he's a little unhinged. So they're like, he'd be the perfect person to, like, pull the trigger. So,
especially if he has plausible deniability, because then you could say, well, it was an accident. There was no, because he has no intent, right? But those that put the gun in his hand might have.
Well, no intent for homicide, but he can certainly be tried for manslaughter.
Right.
You know.
Well, what's the perfect fall guy is the one that doesn't know anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. So.
And he's owned by the left anyway, and so he's one of their minions, and therefore they know they can use him, and he'll play straight. He'll play the game.
That's right.
Again, my opinion.
Well, that's all we have these days anymore, since the truth doesn't matter at all. But guys, we are I don't know how long we've been streaming for. Let's see, almost an hour and a half. So we are going to we had a cool little thing that we were going to do at the end, but you're just gonna have to wait till Wednesday for that. But for everybody that is watching us live, thank you so much. Pi, I do not have enough words to thank you with, because this has been a fun as heck show, man.
Well, we can go ahead and just wrap it up, because, you know, too much pie will give you a large circumference. And
yeah.
I don't want
well, it's all about the girth.
Anybody. That's it. It's all about the girth, baby.
But yeah,
I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. You are a welcome soul any day of the week, man. But anyway, we will be back here. Hopefully Jonah will have power by Wednesday, so you'll get to see her beautiful face. And other than that, I don't have anything. You know, normally Jonah is the one to remind me to say things at the end. I don't. If you guys are into pumpkin carving, get on your pumpkin carving, because Enoch has his meme contest this week, which is tomorrow, is to carve pumpkins in a patriotic way. So if you want to do a patriotic pumpkin, take a picture of it, send it over to Enoch. He'll do it on his show along with Sandra, and you might win some brownie points with the community. Who knows?
Yeah, send it to his DM in either Discord or Telegram.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to say in closing?
No, man, I just really appreciate being here. It's been a blast, and thank you folks for tolerating my crazy. And if sing for freedom. You got to get out there and bring awareness to our J6ers. I'll push that every day that I can. And
push it a little more right now. Let people know what to do, where to go.
All right, so I'm challenging everybody to help revive patriotism and bring awareness to the political prisoners that our government is holding, whether they're locked up in the gulags in D.C. or, the other 500 people that have been arrested by the federal government for standing up and using their voice for freedom on January 6th. I am one of those defendants as well. I'm facing 10 federal charges, but luckily I've been awarded bond, and so I can be a voice for them, and I'm asking you all to join me in one unified voice. Send in a video of you singing the national anthem. Be creative. We're in a community of meme makers and video editors, but bring out the national anthem. You could do it every day. You could do it just once, but just to stay in a solidarity with them and post it on whatever platform you wish. You feel free to send it to my Telegram and Sing for Freedom page, and I'll blast it all over the internet where I can as well. But send in a video and use the hashtag #4freedom. Sing for freedom. The national anthem is now a form of protest, and I want to blow up the internet with the national anthem and give Tubin at CNN PTSD, because we love our country and we stand by those that are willing to stand up for us.
Thank you, Pi. And thank you, Patriots, for joining us tonight. For God and country, keep on fighting, Patriots. This is Spiff Force signing out.